All right, hello everyone. Beacon of Hype here, and this is going to be the first of probably many installments of the Virtual Murder series that was very popular on the CD-ROM back in the early 90s. I don't know how other people have done these gameplay videos where they're so clean, and obviously they're ripped from probably online resources, but this one, if you can't tell by the screen, I'm kicking it old school on an actual iMac with my trusty tripod positioned just so to get the screen and capture the gameplay as it was originally intended to be played way back in the day. Yes, I do have an old school iMac, and I keep my iMac here right next to my other office equipment for the sole purpose of playing games like this that are a throwback to my childhood, and I enjoy playing them every once in a while. And if anything else, every time I play them, I try to find maybe some little subtle detail that I may have missed, because while again it was a CD-ROM presentation with live like motion capture for the witness testimonies and other elements of the gameplay, they obviously recorded many different takes, many different little clips, sound bites, things of that nature. So obviously, this seems like it's like going to see a movie that you've seen 20 times. You might miss a little detail here and there that you'll catch, and it'll be brand new to you, even after so many times of viewing it, or in this case, playing it. So let's get her rolling. Trusty mouse click. This was Virtual Murder number 1. Who killed Sam Rupert? I'm going to see if I can crank the volume up a little bit just for the sake of the video. I'm not sure if I will be able to pull that off here. Let's see. Volume. Here we go. Boy. There. Hopefully that'll assist us a little bit with hearing everything we need to hear here. So, I'm going to actually see if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. So, again, this was actually the very first installment. There were actually 4 separate games, all put together by Shannon Gilligan in terms of the writing of each case. And this is sometime in the early 90s. I believe it was, to be specific, it was 1992. And they went through all the way through 1993. They are available on multiple platforms. But again, I grew up with the Mac, and this game, along with the second one called The Magic Death, was included in basically a CD-ROM game starter kit when my mom got me my first iMac. And I never stopped loving them. So, here we go.
90% of the murders solved in the United States are solved within the first 6 hours. This is the premise for solving Sam Rupert. You have exactly 6 hours to solve this crime. A clock in the upper right corner of your screen keeps track of the time you have left. Every step of your investigation will take a certain number of minutes. Periodically, someone from headquarters will warn you as well. You must pick your way through the investigation carefully. Be sure not to waste time, or the murderer may escape your grasp. The murder must be solved in 2 stages. The first stage, which you're looking at, provides all the major facts, details, and forensic tests available to you as detective. Report of the murder can be played as many times as you'd like. It provides the basic facts of the case and is narrated by your assistant, Lucy Farewell, who has arrived at the scene of the crime early. This is the only free component of the game. You may want to refer back to it to refresh your thinking or review the facts again. The crime scene, complete with corpse, has been left by the crime scene team for your examination. You can click on any object on the screen for a closer look. You can also execute a number of forensic exams on any object. 8 Likely Suspects is a place where you can find out more about those closest to the victim. what they were doing last night at the estimated time of death, and what their suspicions are. The interviews were conducted and videotaped by Lucy. The restaurant provides a layout of both floors of Sam Rupert's. Lucy and the crime scene team are going over it right now. By the time you start detecting, they should have found some more clues. Click on any room for a report of what's been found. Other sources are available for your examination. You can examine Sam Rupert's daily diary to find out what the deceased did on the last day of his life and compare it with what you have learned. You can access the phone records to Sam Rupert's private office line and find out who he talked to. The Guide to Vintage Wines may provide useful information about the missing and opened bottles. The autopsy report can provide exact cause of death. And finally, you can access non-testimonial evidence where you'll get a judge's permission to fingerprint and blood type all the major suspects and compare results with clues you have found. In alibis, you can access Lucy Farwell's report on each suspect's alibi. Once you've narrowed down the suspects, you're allowed to interview 3 of them in more depth. But before you can do this, the press is demanding a press conference. You agree to 10 questions. After you've answered them and gotten 7 correct, you can advance to identifying your final interviewees. You can interview 1, 2, or 3 suspects to collect the final pieces of your case. They do not have to include the murderer. After all, any one of them may provide the crucial clue that solves the murder. When you've figured out who done it, you can proceed to the warrant application. There you will have to fill out an application for a warrant to arrest your suspect. The judge may grant your warrant, or she may deny it. It depends on the strength of your application. Wherever you are in the game, when there are 30 minutes remaining, you will automatically default to the press conference. If you complete it successfully, you can use your remaining 20 minutes to file a warrant application. Once you have a warrant, the arrest proceeds automatically. You may be correct, or you may be dead wrong. This is where you find out. If you still have 20 minutes left, you can try again. Even an incorrect arrest will teach you something. At any point in the game, you can access help for a further explanation. Good luck. Start anytime by pressing Begin Investigation.
Now, if you'll notice, the background music, especially for this game, very, very similar to another popular television program at the time, throughout the early 90s, maybe going back to the late 80s, called Unsolved Mysteries. I would be willing to bet that this was recorded by the same recording artist. Possibly maybe this was recorded for the show and discarded, and then the makers of the CD-ROM game decided to pick it up. But very, very similar. One thing that I don't think they pointed out was this little icon right here, which is an ear. There are various points during gathering of clues and even answers to some of the not the interrogations, but when you get past the press conference and are able to ask questions of 3 different suspects. At that point, if there is anything incriminating or worthy of note after someone has answered a question, if you hover over this ear and it gets to be a little bit lighter or brighter, that means there is information pertaining to that answer that was given that we would really want to make note of that could actually help us in locating an idea of who our murderer is. In this case, there is only one murderer scenario for this particular game. Again, Sam Rupert was the very first installment, so the additional games that followed, they did, I think, discover that to get more gameplay out of these, they had up to 3 different murderers, 3 different scenarios for each case. The same victim, but in some cases it would be different methods in which they were killed. Obviously, different motives throughout all the different suspects, and it made it for a lot more likely repeat gameplay. For the hours that the time they give you, that it actually gets gobbled up pretty quick, depending on what you decide to do with your time. So you never, if you went through every single element, you would never be able to capture all of it within the proper time. You have to be selective about what you do with your time, and what you decide to focus your attention on. So if we begin investigation, so we can start with the report of the murder.
The victim's name is Sam Rupert. Male Caucasian, age 41, height approximately 6'1" and weight approximately 180 pounds. He owns an extremely fancy restaurant in Alameda Canyon called Sam's. It's got great food, but it's particularly famous for its wine cellar. That's where the body was found. It was early this morning before anyone else was in. The cleaning lady discovered him at around 6:15. She called it in a few minutes later. There's a setup in the wine cellar for wine tastings, fancy dinners, that sort of thing. That's where he was, right next to the dining table down there. There are no signs of struggle, and the only apparent wound is a small puncture in the side of the neck just below his left ear. Only a single drop of blood. The OMI thinks it may have been done by a pin, but there's nothing around. They estimate time of death at near midnight. The crime scene people have been all over it, but we've left it for you to take a look for yourself. The autopsy will tell us more. There are no signs of forced entry into the building. The maid says it was all locked up and nothing seemed unusual. Rupert was talking on the phone in his office when the last staff left at 11:30 p.m. $6,000 in cash from last night's business is still on hand, so burglary wasn't a motive, at least not overtly. A very good bottle of wine is missing. A second is sitting uncorked on the table next to the body. So are 2 half-filled wine glasses. It looks to me like Mr. Rupert knew his murderer. Our initial inquiries about the victim seem to indicate a very good guy. He's very active in local charities, and his staff seem to like him. I asked Bill H. at headquarters, and unlike a lot of other restaurant owners, this one's clean of any mob connections. I don't know, Detective, but this looks like a tough case.
Okay. So, I think what we'll do, for the sake of trying to get as much time into a 15-20 minute video, we're going to jump from report of the murder to the 8 likely suspects, just to show you all the interviews that we can gather and who the players are. Again, even on this screen, very, very generic in terms of just the descriptions of who they are as opposed to what their actual names are. It's more just like how they relate to the murder victim, or just the story in general. I feel like some of these are just, some of the things that people scoff at when you're looking at the end credits of a movie with the roles that just are man on corner. In this case, we have angry customer. So let's start from left to right. This is the cleaning lady, Avelina Casados.
Your name and relationship to the deceased?
Avelina Casados. I clean here for Mr. Rupert. I have worked for him for 4 years, and he is a very kind and nice man. I don't know why anybody would want to hurt him.
Can you describe exactly what happened this morning?
I come in as usual, by the back door, through the kitchen. I unlocked it with my own key. And the kitchen was neat and clean, just like Mr. Sturgeon always leaves it. I usually clean the bar first, but for some reason I decided to start with the wine cellar. Everything was dark, and so I turn on the lights and I go down the stairs, and that's when I noticed the wine bottle and the 2 glasses next to it. Well, sometimes there are glasses there, but they never had wine in them. And all of a sudden I don't feel wine. And I walk around the other side, and there's Mr. Rupert lying on the ground.
Do you know anyone, Mrs. Casados, who might want to kill Mr. Rupert? Anybody he was not getting along with?
Oh, no. Everybody liked Mr. Rupert. He was very good to us. Oh, and his restaurant was very popular. Busy every night.
Mrs. Casados, can you tell me what you did from 5 o'clock on last night?
Sure. I made a dinner for my husband, and then I went to my stitching club. We're making this special quilt. Well, mostly we talk, and that was over about 10:15. And my girlfriend, Dolores Ruiz, she drove me home, and we had some friends over, and they left about 11. And then I slept with my husband all night long.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Casados. We'll get back in touch if we have any other questions.
So as you can see, each of those interviews with the 8 likely suspects will gobble up 20 minutes of game time. Not actual 20 minutes, but in terms of the time that it allots you for solving the murder. So obviously, going through each of these, we're going to obviously be devoting a lot of our time bank to just interviewing suspects. So, next up is the Major D, Louis Perez-Lacy.
Your name and relationship to the deceased.
Louis Perez-Lacy. I'm the Major D here at Sam's. I want you to know I considered Sam a good friend. And this whole thing may be all my fault.
What do you mean, Mr. Perez-Lacy?
Well, last night we had a guest for dinner. His name is Edward Talman. He's been here before. One of those rich, demanding types. He does something in the film business. Anyway, he called at the last minute and said he had to have a certain table for dinner. When he got here, it was taken. He just flipped. He said that we promised. I don't know, maybe he'd been drinking. Well, he started to create a real fuss, so Sam comes over to try to smooth things out. It was our busiest time, just after 8 o'clock. Talman started to yell. He even tried to slug Sam. That was it. Blake comes over, the 3 of us escort him out. When we get to the parking lot, Talman turns to Sam and said, "I'll kill you, you lousy fuck." Those were his exact words. Of course, Sam just says Mr. Talman needs a good night's rest. He even offered to call and check on him in the morning.
So you think that Mr. Talman may have actually been good to his word?
Well, there was something about the way he said it. I thought to myself, this guy is really capable of murder. I just don't know who else might do it.
Can you describe your movements from around 5 o'clock onward yesterday, Mr. Perez-Lacy?
Sure. I was here at the restaurant last night. It was a madhouse, as usual. The incident with Talman is the only thing that sticks out for me. Sometimes Sam and I would have a drink at the end of the night, but last night he was a little distracted. I don't know. He's been working hard lately. So I said goodnight to him in his office and left. It was around 11:30. Yeah, 11:30. I remember looking at the clock on his desk. Sam was on the phone. He looked kind of funny, but maybe he was just tense. Anyway, on the way home, I stopped at the convenience store, the one on Brigham and Hutch. I bought a pack of cigarettes there. The boy there knows me. And I just went home and read myself to sleep.
Okay, that's all for now, Mr. Perez-Lacy. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Okay, fun fact about this. Again, I was 12 when these games came out. And so 12, 13 years old, somewhere in that ballpark. And clearly, you can tell back in those days, the games such as this, given the fact that he dropped an F-bomb during that interview, obviously they didn't go through as much screening then, because I had no clue that I was about to hear anybody cursing. Even though it's a game about murder, you're still taken aback by, he dropped an F-bomb. And there's actually even a couple other instances in this game and the other ones where there's some suggestive language that is used, including some slurs that I will probably need to figure out a way to censor before I upload them to YouTube. So that's the tip of the iceberg, in case you're wondering. So now it's on to the head chef, David Sturgeon.
Your name and relationship to the deceased?
David Sturgeon. I'm the head chef here at the restaurant.
How long have you worked for Mr. Rupert?
I've worked here for 2 years. I have a year left on my contract. Unfortunately.
You don't like your job?
I like to cook, and I'm damn good at it. I just don't like to work for someone else. I want my own place, but Sam didn't exactly see things my way. We had a huge fight about it a few days back. The egomaniac tried to act like he made me. It's more like the other way around. It was no big deal, man. We shook hands when it was over. But now that he's dead, everybody's probably going to point the finger at me. Like I'd kill the guy just to break the contract.
Can you tell me your movements yesterday from 5 o'clock on?
Sure. That's easy. Staff dinner was at 5. I cooked all night. Dinner wound down around 10:15. Then I was out of here. I have to go to the fish market every morning at 5:30, and I have to
straight home?
Yeah. My roommate was awake, Sheila West. She'll vouch for me. We're sleeping together.
Are you the last kitchen staff to leave?
Around the last. Usually Manny, the dessert chef, is hanging out doing his thing. I think he was still here. So was the dishwasher. But they both would have been gone by 11.
Just one more question. Is there anyone that hasn't been getting along with Mr. Rupert? Someone here on the staff?
Well, Sam had Blake in for a little chat around 2:30 yesterday afternoon. From what I could hear in the back garden, I think Blake might have been dipping into the till. Most of the bar is cash, so it's easy enough. And tempting, too, I might add. Sam wasn't known for paying overly well. And Blake's got 2 kids in alimony.
You mean Blake Ferran, the bartender?
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Sturgeon.
Hey, man, no problem.
You've used an hour of time, Detective. 5 hours left.
So I mean about the time getting gobbled up, we're only 3 suspect interviews in out of 8. And we're already down to 5 hours of game time. So now it's on to, again, it says girlfriend, and that means that we're in relation to the victim. So this is the married Sam Rupert's girlfriend / mistress, Mimi Andrews.
Your name and relationship to the deceased?
My name is Mimi Andrews. I was a good friend of Sam's. I looked out for real estate deals for him.
How long had you known Mr. Rupert?
About 1.5 years. We met at a dinner for heart research. It was held here at the restaurant, March 19th last year.
When was the last time you saw or spoke with the deceased?
I saw Sam yesterday afternoon around 3 o'clock. We went to look at some land, commercial acreage near the freight airport. We took my car and then I dropped Sam back off here at the restaurant around 6 o'clock.
Do you know anyone, Miss Andrews, who may have wanted to kill Sam Rupert?
I can provide you with a lead if that's what you're after. Try David Sturgeon, Sam's chef. David had about 1 year left on his contract and he wanted to break it. He said that he had an investor who was going to set him up in his own place. Sam wouldn't hear of it. Sam said if David tried to do anything, he would tie him up in court. And according to Sam, David got real ugly about it. Well, they had a fight just 2 days ago in front of half the staff. Ask them. If you ask me, David had every reason to kill him.
Can you tell me exactly what you did last night, Miss Andrews, after you dropped Mr. Rupert off?
Well, sure. I stopped by the office to finish up some paperwork. Lana Kindle was there and can verify that for me. Then I went to the Thai place on Pine for takeout on the way home. I climbed into bed and watched The Accidental Tourist on HBO. And my mother called around 9:30, and I drifted off by 11.
Thank you for your help, Miss Andrews. That will be all for now.
Interesting note from that is that all she says is that she was a good friend of Sam's and didn't mention anything about a relationship, which will make a little bit more sense as we get further into the story. And it has nothing to do with her being embarrassed or, wanting to hide the fact that anything as far as being involved with a married man. So next up, from left to right on the bottom row, is the head bartender, Blake Ferran.
Your name and relationship to the deceased?
Blake Ferran. I work at Sam's. I'm the head bartender.
Can you tell me, Mr. Ferran, whether anything seemed out of the ordinary last night?
Just that crazy guest. Ellen, I think his name is. Sam might have been a shade touchy in general. Nothing went on that would make me think that the boss would show up for work dead.
Is the wine cellar locked?
Most of the time. We unlock it during normal serving hours for access.
Who has keys?
I do. Sam. Abelina, I think. Louis the maitre d', and David Sturgeon, the chef. And that's about it. Oh, I think Maria, Sam's assistant, has a key too.
Who locked the wine cellar last night?
I left at 11. Louis said he'd take care of it.
Do you have any idea who might want Sam Rupert dead?
You mean, do I know who killed him? No. But I half hope it was Louis.
You mean Mrs. Rupert?
Well, she had the motive. See, Sam plays around. He's He's done it ever since I've known him. I got a feeling it's been going on for quite a while. Right in front of her face. In front of their friends. People probably wonder why she didn't do it sooner.
Can you tell me what you did after leaving work last night?
Sure. It was early by Sam's standards when I got off. So I went and shot some pool with some guys I know down at Little Richard's on Simmons Street. I was there from 11 till 2:30. Hey, any number of people saw me, you can ask.
Thank you, Mr. Farron.
Anytime.
Okay, and the next up is obviously the deceased's wife, Lily Rupert.
Your name and relationship to the deceased?
Lily Rupert. I'm Sam's wife.
Mrs. Rupert, when was the last time you saw your husband?
Yesterday, when he left for the restaurant.
You didn't think it odd when he didn't show up at home last night? You didn't think of contacting the police?
My husband had girlfriends. But it's nothing new. He began sleeping around within a few months of our marriage 10 years ago. Sometimes he'd spend the night with one. That's what I assumed he was doing last night.
Can you tell us your movements from around 5 yesterday afternoon, Mrs. Rupert?
Yes. I had 2 women friends in for dinner. My sister Anne and her daughter Belinda were here from out of town. Belinda kept a date with her uncle at the restaurant, and we had a ladies' night here. The guests left at about 12:30. My sister and I talked for about an hour, and then we went to bed.
Was your husband acting odd or different in any way lately?
No. He was his usual charming, preoccupied self.
Thank you for now, Mrs. Rupert. That will be all.
You know, I thought I would feel a lot more sorry, but I'm not. In a way, I'm relieved.
Detective, this is your chief. Just a reminder, you have 4 hours left to investigate the case.
That one was always very interesting, even as a kid, but even more so as an adult. Just the wife seems so detached from everything, not just the fact that her husband has been murdered, but she seemed to just kind of roll with him cheating on her within months of their marriage. And I don't know. Again, like the psychology in this game, it kind of goes in various directions. But I wish that they maybe kind of covered more of that and try to get this character a little bit better explanation as to why she was so much of a sponge for mistreatment. Just doesn't make much sense from a realistic perspective. But hey. All right, now on to Sam Rupert's assistant at the restaurant, Maria Campbell.
Your name and relationship to the deceased?
Maria Campbell. I was Sam's personal assistant here at the restaurant.
So you have a good working knowledge of the restaurant?
Yes, I do.
Ms. Campbell, from your perspective, would you say the employees were happy here?
Yes. Well, not everyone. Sam was having trouble with the chef, David Sturgeon. David wanted to leave, but he still had a year to go on his contract. I don't know if you know anything about the restaurant business, but this is a big no-no. Sam was angry. He'd helped David along to where he'd gotten. David really owes it to Sam to stay through his contract. Anyway, they had a bad fight a few days ago. Sam said they shook hands afterward, but he said he had the feeling that David really had it in for him. Anyway, he was afraid that he'd start laying off the cooking, lowering his standard.
Well, did he?
No, not so that you'd notice, anyway. Not yet.
Did Mr. Rupert say or do anything unusual or different yesterday? Anything that sticks in your mind?
No. He did say that he was planning to talk to David again. I think he was going to ask him for a drink after work last night.
Did you see them together?
No, I left for the day around 5:30.
Can you tell me your movements after you left work last night?
Yes, of course. I drove to the supermarket to get some bottled water, and I went to the West Ridge Sports Center for my weights workout. That was around 6.
and then I showered and went home. I live alone. I spoke briefly to my neighbor, Mr. Fitch, on my way in. That was around 7:30 or 7:45. I spent the evening home alone with my cat, Ralph.
If you think of anything else, anything that sticks in your mind, please let us know.
I will, of course.
All right. I forgot to do this. Every time that there was a suspect interview, I've tried in the past to hover over the ear to see if anything was worth noting from the interview itself. And again, nothing like that seems to come into play until later on after we do alibis and do the more in-depth interviews after the press conference. All right, so last and not, but certainly not least, is a gentleman that we're going to see actually in 3 of the 4 murder cases that are put out by Shannon Gilligan. This was obviously his debut, but it's the angry customer at Sam's restaurant, a Mr. Edward Talaman. Enjoy.
Your name and occupation?
My name is Edward Talaman. I am a movie producer.
Mr. Talaman, I believe you were a guest at the restaurant owned by Sam Rupert yesterday evening.
If you can call it that. I've never been so badly treated in my life. I'll never go to that place again. I had an important business associate with me. They had guaranteed me a specific table. When I arrived, it was taken. Naturally, I was upset. So what if I yelled a little? Is that a crime?
It's alleged that you threatened Mr. Rupert with murder. Is that true?
I might have used that figure of speech, but I haven't murdered anybody so far. And there are plenty of people that have pissed me off more than Sam Rupert. The first wife, for instance. Now, there's somebody I'd really like to kill. Do you mind telling me what this is all about?
Mr. Rupert was found dead this morning in the restaurant.
Dead? Well, that is interesting. Dead like in murdered?
We haven't ruled it out.
Do you think there's a story in it? Maybe I could buy the rights from his estate.
Mr. Talaman, can you give us an account of your whereabouts last night from the time you left the restaurant?
Sure. I even have witnesses. My friend Hy Stedman drove me to my house he was staying over. He and my housekeeper Anna put me to bed. I'm afraid I was drowning in my troubles in drink last night. I was in no condition to go out and kill someone. Anna woke me again this morning. That's it.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Talaman. We'll be back in touch if we have more questions.
Damn, life sure is funny.
I often wonder if this was all one collective acting group, or if these people were all cast, 2 of them either being friends, relatives, known actors of the game makers. Because one thing you will notice, again, like I said, the actor that plays Edward Talaman returns in the following games. And everybody else that is part of this does not appear in any of the other virtual murder cases as themselves or as different characters, which I thought was very interesting. I've actually even looked into the possibility of trying to research as much as I can about all the people that have been cast in all these murder CD-ROM games and kind of do like a Where Are They Now video if I gather enough intel. But of course with CD-ROM games, it's not exactly like looking at someone's IMDb, unless they really actually went on to have a very fruitful career in Hollywood or television. Unfortunately, with all these games, they all seem to be kind of local unknowns. But again, we're about 34, almost 35 minutes into the first video. Figure this is a good time to stop. So we've covered the intro to the game as well as all 8 likely suspects interviews. In the next installment, we'll maybe go into more in-depth look at the crime scene, all the features that you can get from there as far as testing fingerprints, blood samples, fibers, etc. And then we'll go from there. This is Beacon of Hype, signing off.